sends Sakurai to his house with a Nintendo themed bat, show him some things, break all his stuff.
He cracks him upside the skull with his bat, and it makes the home run sound. From Smash Bros.
And then he's just laying there. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Super Agile Bros. You know who this is. This is your boy Bradston. We got our two host guests, permanent all the time. We got Steve and Kyle in the building. Kyle, tell the people, say what's up.
What's up, y'all?
Hey. And, same Steve. Tell the people hello.
Hi, I'm Steve.
Hey, it's Steve. We all know Steve. He's awesome. So let's just get into it, man. It's gonna be a cool episode. You know, we've been just talking about a lot of different topics in all the different episodes, and I don't know. I've been liking the top list kind of thing, like the top 5 kind of vibe. It's been fun, like discussion and just hearing what the other guys have to say. So today, I threw it out at the guys. They agreed. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do a top 5. Our top 5 personal favorite single player games. So that you guys ready, right? You guys ready, right? Y'all ready?
I am ready.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I guess we might as well get started. I mean, we're gonna do it just like we did like our anime list. We're gonna start from 5. So this is an ordered list, by the way. Of course, the guys can order however they want, but 5 to 1. 1 being probably the best. But we're gonna start from 5. We're gonna go to 1. We're all gonna go around. It'll start with me, go to Steve, and then we'll go to Kyle, and then hey, we'll go from there. So I'm gonna start with my number 5. And when you say your number, like, don't just say the game, but also say like what system, because it might be on multiple systems. So
that's fair. Yeah.
Just in case there's like some games are extra trash on other systems.
Yes.
So you never know. So my number 5 is Dead Rising. Have y'all played Dead Rising on the Xbox 360? I guess there's no other version.
No, I have not played Dead Rising.
Okay,
no.
Is that a zombie game?
Yes. How did you guess?
I think I just have a knack for these things.
Man,
Okay.
Nothing gets by you.
Okay, Dead Rising. So I mean, the premise basically, like, Dead Rising is like, okay. So first of all, it's made by Capcom. Okay, and it is so there's so much to say about it. So it's like it's a game that doesn't take itself too serious, but it's like serious. Like, it's very Japanese. Like, there's all these like really weird and quirky characters, and like it kind of has these like unnecessarily deep like concepts at times. Like, but
is that the one where the guy's in the mall?
Yes, 100%.
Oh, where you can like kill people with, a unicorn bat or a shopping cart or a flamethrower
or a Mega Man shooting foam arm or something like that. Yeah. At some point you get, it's like really garbage.
It's Capcom, so.
Yeah, like you get a little Mega Man arm that you can put on if you go to this movie theater. It's really garbage. It doesn't really do anything, but it's kind of fun. It's like a little foam shooter. But like, it's a very grim and serious game where people get murdered, and they're like dead. But it's also like a game, like Steve was saying, like you hit people with shopping carts, and like you get a samurai sword, and then you can, like, in the future editions of it, like you can like build weapons. But like in particular, this one, I like
the crafting.
And the reason I like this one, why I put Dead Rising, the original, on my list is, number one, don't finish most games. Like, once I get like what I want out of a game, like I'm like, give me what I want. I'm done with you. But this game, like, I've played through maybe 4 times, maybe even 5 times. And I don't know, there's just something that just keeps drawing me back to it. I haven't played in a while because I haven't played my 360 in a long time. But like, honestly, like, I've had so much fun, like just running around. There's so many secrets. Like, it's a lot of people hate it because it's like a time-based game. Like, are y'all familiar with the mechanic on how it works?
Yeah.
At all?
You have a certain amount of days or something, right?
Until Pikmin?
Kind of like so you basically have like a time limit on when like you're gonna get rescued like from the mall, so you know when it's gonna happen. And also there's timed events. So say like and you're like working with this like guy who's monitoring all the security cams in the mall, and he'll be like, hey, I just saw a person over near the bathrooms on the east side of the mall. It looks like they're in trouble. Right? And then you get a timer that shows you how long you have until you can save that person. So there's like, and this isn't like one event at a time. There'll be like 5, 6, 7 different like things happening at the same time. Yeah, it's super stressful. And then that also includes major story events. And what's killer about the game is if you miss a major story event, like don't accomplish a task in the time that's allotted, the main story is done. Like, it's just, you have to play the rest of the game all the way to the end where you get rescued, but you can't get the final, like
the good ending.
The good ending, yeah. Like, there is just, like, no ending. Like, the game basically ends from a story perspective. So, the first time I played the game, I missed the story because I just couldn't do it. But the really, really cool thing is that you get Game Plus. So
New Game Plus.
So like when you beat it, all the stats, all the thing. Oh, also there's an RPG system in it. like you can level up your arms, your legs, your punches, your throws, your speed.
You can level up your arms individually, like,
like you know, like it has all these like RPG elements, and then you get new like combos, new throws, new
so goofy.
Like, it's super goofy, like it's super over the top. The characters like are like basically like the enemies in the game are in basically insane people. Like you fight like this one chef who went crazy, and it's like now we have to survive by eating humans, and you have to fight him, and he throws like pans and knives and stuff at you. And also the boss fights are super brutal. Like it's all about stun locking you. like, you know, and so a lot of the game is like learning how to gimp enemies so you can beat them. And it's like you think to yourself, like, this is a bad gameplay mechanic, but it's kind of fun because it becomes like a puzzle. Like, how do I gimp these prisoners who are driving a Jeep through the middle of the mall and have a Gatling gun on the back? Because if I try to fight them straight up, they just murder me instantly, you know? And it's just a lot of like, it's just really, really fun. It's really like high paced because you always got to be moving. You start to optimize your path through the mall. You start to learn like, okay, this is when these particular hordes are here. This is where I can find, oh yeah, and the weapons, as much as people hate weapon durability, this game is all about weapon durability. All I can say is it's like there's so many mechanics in this game. Like, I don't know. I just really love it. I think they do a really good job. And it's just really, really fun to play. Like, and it's great to watch. It's fun to watch because every time somebody plays, it's a completely different experience, you know? Like, what weapons you have, what scenario you're in, what time of day, what zombie you might be in this area. Like, and they're slow zombies. So, and you can run through crowds of zombies. You can run on their heads. Like, this is all kind of goofy stuff.
The zombie fighting is like reminiscent of Dynasty Warriors. Because you're like one guy in hordes and surrounded by all the really weak enemy. Like,
yeah.
Because you can swing around like benches and stuff from the mall.
Yes.
So
it's just over the top, and I love that they just went over the top. And then and if you kill certain bosses, you get special weapons that also have durabilities, but they're like, once you kill them, you can go back to where you killed them and get that weapon again later.
Oh, that's cool.
Like it respawns. So like there's a clown that's riding a roller coaster who has double chainsaws. First of all, he's super hard to fight. And then you can get those. Oh, and then the story of like the little families and the people that you save in the mall are so good. And sometimes like really, really like brutal. Like the decisions that people are making. It's great. It's great.
When did you play this game?
I played Dead Rising. Man, what year is it? 2021. So I think I was in college in my second semester because I had the small TV and I didn't have an HD TV, so I couldn't read. Funny thing about Xbox 360, on a like CRT, like you can't read the text. It's impossible. So I didn't know what was happening half the time. Like I didn't know what my missions were because I couldn't read the text. So it had to be 2007 or 2008. Yeah. It was awesome. So, yeah. I mean, that's my number 5. I would probably move it up higher up the list, but I don't know. Like I debated where I wanted it to be, but it definitely had to be in my top 5, especially how many times I've played it. So yeah, that's my number 5. So what about you, Mr. Steve? What's your number 5?
Well, I'll open by saying that, again, I don't believe in favorites. So I ordered my list in terms of what I understand is like the hype for each game, so that as my list goes on, people will get more hype and they'll love me more. I also considered the people listening, the people who hang on my every word, and they want to know what games I play and if I have a good taste in games.
It's people pleasing. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, I also considered ordering it by replayability, but that's not cool. Cool, yeah. So my number 5 is Metroid Prime 2. Initially on the GameCube, and then I also played it on the Wii.
So Echoes.
Yes, Prime 2 Echo. It's called Echoes, correct. That's the tagline. So this was, I kind of hate to say it, but I'm also somewhat proud. This was my first Metroid game.
Wow.
The second game in the Prime series was my first of any Metroid game.
You should be ashamed.
Yeah. I mean, it was my first Metroid game after Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Counts.
Right.
I mean, that's probably the truth for most people, honestly.
Well, Melee, but then 64 actually was my first time with Samus.
Okay.
I remember doing the either 64 or Melee had that the story mode. It was probably Melee actually. Had the story mode, and then you're climbing all the platforms and stuff at the end to escape Zebes. Zebes.
Yeah.
And then as I play Metroid games, I'm like, oh my god, it's just like Super Smash Bros.
Insane.
They ripped it from Super Smash Brothers.
They copied Mr. Sakurai. Anyway, Metroid Prime 2 : Echoes. First of all, I had no idea. I had never played any like exploration game quite like this before. So I went into it with no knowledge, and the very first thing I see is this like dark like title screen with like these shifting shapes in the shadows and this super eerie music with like the chanting and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, this game is the coolest thing ever. No, I was excited. It was so cool.
Okay.
And as you play, they had the 3D graphics, and this was on the GameCube at first, so it had really bad controls, to be honest. But I got used to it pretty quick because I was a child.
You have the tolerance for such things.
But I feel like when you're a child, like you owned the GameCube, right? And you would play games before that, so you probably were like, yeah, this is not that bad. Like, but now it's super horrible. Like,
well, I didn't play a lot of shooters. What did I play?
Like, there was a time where we accepted tank controls. So
yeah. I mean, if you've played Metroid Prime, you know that the controls are especially wonky because they did not use the C-stick for camera like every other 3D on the GameCube. 3D game on the GameCube does. They used it for selecting weapons, and then there was no like other stick. It was just the one stick.
which is
even as a child, I remember hating the platforming sections. I liked grappling around, but I really hated jumping from platform to platform because I'd always fall.
Yeah, first-person platforming is never fun.
Yeah, especially under duress, you're being shot at by a boss or a bunch of arrow troopers or something. Anyway, so this game had so much cool stuff. It started with like zombie soldiers. You find a bunch of like dead military guys, and then they suddenly reanimate, start shooting at you, and then you meet the space pirates and the Metroids, and God forbid you forget Dark Aether and the Ing and all these like really cool looking enemies, which in retrospect most of them were just blobs. The Ing were very cool. They had like 5 legs, which I rarely see on a fictional monster. And again, I love Metroidvanias. I love the sense of exploration and the sense of like owning a world and like learning every little nook and cranny and having a goal that's like across the planet and trying to figure out in your head like, all right, what's the fastest way to get there? Mm-hmm. And zooming around and just kicking every monster's butt between here and there. And I had never done that before, and Metroid Prime 2, Echoes introduced that to me. I also really loved, and as an adult now I'm disappointed by it, but I really loved the idea of Dark Aether and how there was like, you know, this dark mirrored twisted version of the map that, you know, you had to go back and forth between to like, because sometimes there'd be an impediment in the light world and you had to go through the dark world to get to it or to get around it. And, you know, in retrospect, as an adult, it was pretty simplistic. There wasn't a lot of like really involved puzzling, but as a kid, I thought it was so cool. Mm-hmm. And it was so creepy, and the atmosphere was just excellent. So I loved it. Then I went back and played the first Prime game, then the third. Then I played them all on the Wii with the Wiimote gyro aiming, which was so good. So good.
Better.
Way better. Yeah, like, I'll say that. It was better.
It's funny because to me, I think I've told you this before, Steve, like Echoes is like that game that, like, this is before a lot of games gave you mission logs and stuff like that. And I played Echoes like pretty religiously for a long time, and I was really enjoying it. But as every Metroid game has, backtracking is a huge thing, right? Like,
oh yeah,
and similar, you know, Dead Rising has a lot of backtracking. And as you were talking about, Steve, like optimizing your path and how you go and approach can be fun. But I stopped playing Metroid Echoes because when I came back to the game after like taking a month off from it, I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing. And I played maybe 5 hours just running around 2 different worlds, dark world and light world, trying to figure out what was my next objective. And then I just threw in the towel. Like,
that stinks.
That's fair. I love that kind of thing. It also helps that I've played the game so many times that I know, like, even if I don't know where something is, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I kind of know what I'm supposed to do to, like, suss out my next goal. So it helps to have experience. That's not a game for an inexperienced Metroidvania gaming.
This man's trying to take shots at me. No, sir. I'm an experienced Metroidvania guy. Like, I had played Super Metroid and Prime before I played
No, I mean,
this man
experienced in the specific game, not in the genre.
Yeah, it was just literally I had no clue what I was supposed to do. And I just like, you know. But no, okay, good on you, sir. Cool. Mr. Kyle, what's your number 5?
So my number 5 is probably like I guess it's single player, but maybe not a traditional single player in the sense. So my number 5 is Zoo Tycoon on the computer.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because you couldn't play with people. So, but it was something that I remember spending a whole lot of time on as a kid, and I even tried one on the 360 a couple years ago, and it was horrible. But it checked a lot of those nostalgia buttons, and I appreciated the innovation of like having a first person perspective where you can walk around in your zoo. That stuff was cool and stuff that I wanted in the PC version, but having it was one of those things where it's like never meet your heroes, so I couldn't appreciate it as much because it wasn't as cool as I thought it'd be.
Yeah,
but I think it's just because the graphics were really bad, but it was rough. But anyway, you know, that was always fun, building out the little zoos and, you know, getting to the point where you can have like dinosaurs and other creatures and then letting them loose. You know, it was a good time.
Excuse me? Letting them loose?
No, I said feeding them nutritious meals.
This man basically made
Fresh
Jurassic
meat.
Park. He was like, let people slowly come in, and then I'm the one.
Let there be no survivors.
No survivors.
So for Zoo Tycoon, like, was it that you like the progression, like the seeing your zoo grow? Like, was it the gameplay, like just purely the mechanics? Like, what was the?
I think it was all those things. I'm really big into like sandbox and simulation games, and so starting off with a blank canvas and giving it like being given a bunch of tools is always really cool to me. And so I guess so the idea of seeing that progression and then being directly responsible for the ups and downs. I'm not a fan of economics or anything, so trying to balance the books and then being, $4 million in the red all of a sudden because people stop coming to the park or somebody gets injured or something. That part wasn't that fun, but, finding the code where you can hold control and press the number 4, which is the $sign, and then get infinite money. Oh, it kind of solved that problem I had. So, but yeah, really just being able to build stuff was really cool. And there were little missions, but you
said the missions.
What are your thoughts on Roller Coaster Tycoon?
Also very good, and the ones that allow you to like have little exhibits and stuff were especially my favorite because you could put like the orcas in there, and then the part of the roller coaster, I guess, side of it, the amusement park, was that you could do like the little shows, and so Julie, my wife, really likes Roller Coaster Tycoon too.
Yeah, actually,
but you thought it was better. You thought it was worse than Zoo Tycoon.
Yes, Zoo Tycoon definitely takes the number 1 spot. I enjoyed Roller Coaster Tycoon.
I don't know if it was Roller Coaster Tycoon, but I played another game that was like amusement park, or something.
Yeah, they have some copycats out there.
Theme park or something. It was literally but it was so fun. But the thing was, you could never keep your guests happy, no matter what you gave them. No matter it's like, oh, we need more bathrooms. Okay, I'll make more bathrooms. Oh, it stinks in here. Okay, I'll get more janitors. Oh, there's not enough food. Okay, I'll make more food. Oh, there's too much trash around. I'll get more janitors. Oh, there's not enough bathrooms. Like
insatiable.
Oh, these rides are not fun enough. Oh, these rides are too fun. Like
too scary. Yeah, too fun.
Like really, it really felt like that. And I was like, this is why I don't like people, probably, because of these games.
I'm enjoying myself way too much.
This is too fun, too exhilarating. Like, yeah, I did. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
I was just gonna. I think I had SimCity on the PC as a kid, and I could not get into it. I think I disappointed my parents.
Oop.
I just didn't understand what was fun about it, and then having to balance the books, like you said, was also really annoying and stressful.
Yeah, I feel like SimCity is the Tycoon games are kind of like make that experience more fun. Like the city games are a lot more like
they're intense,
bookkeeping, a lot more thinking about zoning, and like it was a little bit more. I have mixed feelings about the SimCity games in general, but yeah, I can feel you on that.
The city builders to me felt less forgiving.
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to make tornadoes and like alien attacks.
Yes. those were awesome. The problem was I really enjoyed the game and like I'm playing serious in SimCity and things are going well, and then a tornado happens that I don't want. And then I'm just like, you know what? Like I shouldn't even try it. Like
I give up.
I'm done. No, but that's a good choice. I mean, I forgot all about those Tycoon games. Played so many of them.
So forgettable.
So forgettable. Disrespect. I appreciate that, Cal. All right, so my number 4, actually, Steve, my number 4 is a Metroid game.
No kidding.
My number 4 is Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. And I actually didn't play Super Metroid until a little bit later in life. I'm pretty sure I played it before Prime, but like after 3D games were around, after I had an N64 and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure I emulated it. Don't sue me, Nintendo. And I was a kid, so I didn't know what I was doing. But man, I didn't realize how good a game could be. Like a game could be so tight, so well balanced, so the level design, the atmosphere, the game, like everything about the game. Like to me, in many ways, Super Metroid was like the perfect game. Like it really felt like a culmination of all of game design, all of gameplay programming, everything in one like piece at the time. Like I really felt like how could any Super Nintendo game be better than this? But yeah, for me, the reason I made it my number 4 is just because, like, one is because I like really enjoyed the experience. I already knew a lot about Super Metroid prior to playing it, but like it really surprised me, which I didn't think was possible for like a older game. And it really challenged me as a game player, and I really felt somehow immersed. You know what I'm saying? Like in this 2D game, and I have like all my N64 games. I probably even had a GameCube by that point. Like I felt like that when I remember thinking like at school and stuff, like I want to go and play this game. You know, like it's you know, I don't even remember.
Atmospheric.
Yeah, it's so atmospheric. Like I can't even remember when I played it, but I just remember it's left an imprint on me. Like if I ever, as a game developer, want to make a game, I need to look at Super Metroid first. Like I need to start there, because this is what perfection looks like. So I don't know, that Super Metroid is just, you know, like I feel like I've played other games more, and I've played other games longer and more frequently and replayed them. I've only played through Super Metroid I think twice, but I just feel like it deserves more accolades than it even it received. You know, I don't know if you guys have played it, but
I have played it. I haven't finished it though. I've been playing it on the Switch, and I just got distracted.
yeah, are you
That's
playing
cool.
it?
I didn't know it was
Are,
available there.
are you using like joystick and stuff, or are you using D-pad?
I'm pretty sure I use the D-pad. I mean, I'm playing with the Pro controller, which just doesn't have a fantastic D-pad. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I usually use the D-pad for those games.
Yeah. I feel
They
like
make those what is it, the wireless NES controllers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I could buy an 8-bit controller.
Yeah, I think it's really like, I think it's at its best when you play it like on a kind of older kind of controller. It just feels better. Like, first of all, I hate the Switch D-pad with all my soul.
They're so
all my
bad.
heart. It's so bad. But
I've heard there's a way to fix it, but I do not recall how or when.
hack a Xbox 360 controller.
I think
No. It's like a piece of tape under the D-pad and like makes it 10 times better. Or
Gosh.
something.
The fact that you even have to do like they
I
could have
agree.
put the piece of tape there.
So annoying.
They're like, man, they'll figure it out. Like the fact that you have to do that with like like now you got to put cardboard to stop it from drifting.
Right.
That's just so
The
frustrating.
costs that they cut.
But we'll still play the games, man. They're good.
Oh man,
Yeah.
they're still really good games.
Consider this: I played Celeste almost exclusively with the D-pad
On
before
Switch.
I realized how bad the D-pad was.
Yeah.
I just thought I was bad.
That's a
Like,
testament
man,
to
I'm
Celeste.
It's just that good. It doesn't matter what's impeding your path. You're gonna
You will overcome. But that brings up a good point, you know, like how current hardware is supposed to be superior, but like back then, they were making those games with the hardware in mind. So there's a reason, like it's an internal reason why those controllers feel so good for those old games.
Yeah, I think there's something
it sucks.
analog about it. Yeah, what were you saying, Steve?
It sucks because Nintendo is like pioneered a lot of this technology, and now they're just getting blown away by, I don't know, not even competition. Just
Their own
man,
lack
this
of
D-pad sucks. Can you please fix it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they lost some lawsuit or something that messed them up with the D-pads. I kind of recall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I recall something about the controllers and a patent and something like maybe from way back in the 80s or something. Like, yeah,
Dang.
that's why they can't have the standard cross anymore.
Oh,
Yeah, I gotta look into that, but I recall seeing something. Yeah.
That's
like
wild.
there's all it's all patented, right? Like that's why each controller looks different, but which is good and bad, but it's like, they really got the worst end of the stick. So, Steve, what's your number 4? We're about to trash Nintendo Switch controller for like 12 hours. But yeah, what's your number 4?
all right. So my number 4 was Half-Life 2 on the Xbox 360. This might be cheating, but I'm also going to include Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and Half-Life 2 Episode 2 as part of that.
Okay.
If you're not willing to accept that, that's fine. I think Half-Life 2 itself will stand out. But
Yeah, it's an episode. Hey, sure. Why not?
yeah. Hold Oh man, so I got these games as part of the Orange Box, and quick shout out as well for Portal. Portal is just incredible, and Portal 2 is, if anything, somehow even better. But Half-Life 2, again, was my first Half-Life game. I actually have not yet played the first Half-Life game. I did buy Black Mesa. I'm probably never going to play the original Half-Life. I'll just play Black Mesa and experience the story and the gameplay that way. Okay. But yeah, Half-Life 2 was my first introduction to the series, and I fell in love with the gravity gun, and I remember being really impressed at the time with like the graphics, especially with the character models. I thought the level design was super cool. I think Valve is almost unmatched when it comes to like smooth tutorials. So like, for example, they give you the gravity gun, which if you're not aware, it's a weapon where one trigger has like a tractor beam effect. And so you point it at any object, and most of the objects that aren't like literally nailed down in this game are fully physical objects that you can interact with and pick up and drop and stuff. But the gravity gun can pull them towards you, and they'll hang in front of you. And, you know, you can pull a barrel in front of you and block bullets. It's just basically any non-living object you can animate like this. And then the other trigger is a kick button. So you can kick an object that you've grabbed and essentially use a toilet as a lethal projectile. So they use it for a few puzzles here and there, but really it's about just being able to use anything in your vicinity as a weapon or as an impromptu shield or something. It's pretty cool. There's no shortage of like guns and ammo and stuff. There's not really a reason that you need to use it, but it was a really neat option that we had. So you pick up this gravity gun a couple levels in, like you don't even start with it, but you get to that, you get to this like rebel base, you know, and they're hiding from the alien government, and they give you this gravity gun, and then there's a tutorial level that you don't even understand as a tutorial, where you're playing fetch with this giant robot dog, and you're doing it with a gravity gun. So you pick up this ball, because it runs away from you, so you have to like, you know, tractor beam the ball, and then you launch it across this huge field, and the dog runs and gets it and brings it back, and then you have to like try to there's an achievement for trying to get it into a basketball goal. Of course, I have that achievement. But yeah, just like I didn't even understand what a tutorial level was, really, right? Because let me rephrase that. I knew what a tutorial level was, but I didn't comprehend that I was being tutorialed at that moment. Because literally just play fetch with a dog a couple times, and then like, you know, aliens attack and you have to flee or something. And the next level after that, Ravenholm, they encourage you. Again, it's almost a tutorial. They encourage you to use the gravity gun almost exclusively. So you can get by. There's an achievement for doing this too. You can get by with just grenades and your crowbar and the gravity gun, because there's tons of like giant buzzsaw blades and gas canisters and stuff that you can throw at all these enemies coming towards you. And so yeah, you can. I played through it at one point, and there was just a collection of like 8 blades. I just kept launching into a wall, like stay there for a minute, and I would pick one up and blast it through 3 zombies that were coming towards me, and they would just get cut in half. And it was great. I love that game. I love the lore. Can't wait for Half-Life 3.
You can't wait.
Cannot wait. I'm holding my breath. In the meantime, I will eventually buy a Valve Index or some other VR, and I'll buy Half-Life Alyx, and I'll play that.
That one was very good.
They're gonna release Half-Life 3 right before our star explodes. The sun implodes on itself. Like
that's like the Valve is like the musicians on the sinking Titanic. Like as the Earth is beginning to crack and explode, they're like, "All right, here's Half-Life 3."
So you can never play. It's like Kyle said. Like he wanted first person, but like he didn't want first person. It's like you don't know till you get it, and you're like, "Wait,
this is terrible."
It's like you don't want it. No, that's a really good choice. Awesome. Mr. Kyle, number 4, what you got?
cool. I gotta play the Half-Life games too. Return of the Freeman, I heard, is a very great game that you want to play.
What?
Or Hunt Down the Freeman. That's what it was.
No, there was like a trash spin-off game that was just.
I was gonna say, what is this game? I've never heard of this.
You should look it up. You should look it up.
Of the Freeman.
This is why Valve is so great, because if you want to make a fan game, Valve is of like a Half-Life franchise or IP, they're like, cool, we'll put it on the store and you can sell it.
Or not sell it because of what they made.
Unfortunately, that also means that they get behind trash fan makers.
And then Nintendo will sue you for your grandma. Like, give me your grandma.
Give me.
She ever thought about this? It's mine.
Did you hear about the guy who ran that ROM site that got taken down?
Oh, yeah.
He missed a few payments. He missed his $50 monthly payment or whatever to Nintendo because of the court order, which I'm like, okay, guy, whatever. But apparently he was talking a big game. He's like, yeah, I might put the site back up or something. So Nintendo got an injunction against him. So he has to destroy all of his personal, every illegal thing he owns related to Nintendo. So he's not even allowed to play his own ROMs anymore. Like,
I mean, I guess in many ways I'm like, that's kind of fair. Like, you shouldn't even have this stuff.
Right.
Like
I think it's kind of fair if you lose a suit. If you get sued by Nintendo and you're talking a big game, like, I'm going to ignore
the suit.
What happened? Of course they're going to come after you and they're going to make an example of you. Like, what are you thinking?
It was already a privilege to let him keep the stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
And not destroy his life completely. But they have
he trying to play if that's the game he want to play with Nintendo.
Okay, that's what you want to do. I got you.
We're ready to play Super Metroid on our Nintendo online service.
No. Send Sakurai to his house with the Nintendo themed bat. Show him some things. Break all his stuff.
He cracks him upside the skull with his bat, and it makes the home run sound from Smash Bros.
And then he's just laying there, and he just has to watch him destroying all of his computers and just.
That's pretty gangster.
Oh
man!
Sakurai. But Kyle.
He's using 2 controllers the whole time.
2 times.
Wearing them as shoes. Okay. So my number 3.
Four.
My number 4. Sorry, my numbers are messed up. My number 4 is this was kind of hard to choose, but I'll choose the first one that I experienced, and it's like Steve. It's a sequel. Kingdom Hearts number 2.
Wait, Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop. half a mile underwater deep dive experience. X2. Which one?
Kingdom Hearts Chain of Spinoffs.
Truck Simulator. Yeah.
Zoo Tycoon. Wait, sorry. Kingdom Hearts 2.
Bro, I also played Kingdom Hearts 2 before I played Kingdom Hearts. What is wrong with me? I played a lot of sequels first.
Well, in your defense, I think Kingdom Hearts 2 was really the one that kind of set off the series. Because the first one was very clunky. Like, it had all the cool ideas, but it wasn't quite there as a game. And now that we see, the third game and that the story doesn't matter, the first game just doesn't matter anymore either.
Wait. So you played Kingdom Hearts 2 first, Kyle, as well?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. So I was just gonna say, like, I haven't played any of the Kingdom Hearts games, but I feel like Kingdom Hearts 1 is one of those, like, it's good when you played it in the time. If you didn't play the second one, like,
right,
like it's so. Anywho, Kingdom Hearts 2 is your number 4.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So what I've heard is that they've remastered both of them. Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. And I've heard that Kingdom Hearts 1 now plays more similarly to Kingdom Hearts 2. So if you ever did want to play the first one, I'd suggest playing the remaster. I haven't played it myself, so I don't know how true that is, but that's typically what happens. I can say that about the Halo remaster. Is that, that it played a lot better than the original Halo.
The original. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so if you're not familiar with Kingdom Hearts, it's the perfect, fantasy of all of your pretty anime boys standing next to Mickey Mouse and Donald and Friends and
Goofy.
swinging giant swords and having a lot of just nonsense happen. It's a great time.
Yeah.
There's Hercules in there and Tarzan in the second one at least. Yeah, Simba's in there.
Jack Skellington.
Mm-hmm. And so this was the one where they also introduced like the different costumes for Sora and the gang. Yeah, and so like when you'd go to the different worlds, you'd look different, and depending on, I guess, if the Little Mermaids level, you were no, not that one. You were a merboy, but you played pretty much the same. I guess the Lion King one, where you were a lion, was probably the most different. Like your whole move set was different. It was pretty great.
Oh, so it's kind of like Balan Wonderworld.
Except better in every way.
I'd say about on par. Balan is great.
Except not at all, really, because Balan was all about you don't like change costumes. Like it's just that when you go to another world, you look different.
Oh, you're right.
And in the case of the Lion King, the Pride Rock, you just happen to also be able to swipe people with your claws.
So to your point, yeah, Balan is superior to Kingdom Hearts. I agree.
Yeah.
And I took that personally.
But I do suggest playing all of the Kingdom Hearts if you have about 300 hours to devote and spend time away from your family.
Yeah.
Which Kingdom Hearts 3 has Baymax, which was really fun.
It's really hard for me to tell somebody to play Kingdom Hearts 3.
It is. I could see that.
But it's hard for me not to as well, because it's like the third game, and it has Baymax.
It has Baymax. That's the selling point for me. Is Big Hero 6 world was a lot of fun.
I got to teach you guys the art of just when something is garbage, just destroying it in your heart. Just be like, no.
It is destroyed in my heart, but I feel like I feel like people, would enjoy the game. That's what I'm saying. Is even though it's destroyed in my heart, it might be worth the first experience for someone else.
It's got a lot of redeeming qualities. I think it's the hardest thing about Kingdom Hearts is that, because there's so much wrong with the series as a whole, but the games themselves have so many redeeming qualities.
So I have one terrible, terrible story about Kingdom Hearts, in the sense that I didn't have a PlayStation when Kingdom Hearts was around. I didn't have PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 or any 3. So
or 4.
Well, I did have a 4. So like everybody, like, first of all, Kingdom Hearts original commercial literally almost made me feel like I was gonna cry when I was a little kid. I didn't even know what was happening. When you walk away, I can still.
That's a bop, dude.
Oh my goodness, I can still remember the first time I saw that junk in my living room. I was like, "What is this? I need it now." PlayStation, no, like just ruining my life. But so I didn't have a PlayStation, and I missed Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, but I had a Game Boy Advanced. And I didn't end up buying the game. I emulated it. But I've got the Kingdom Hearts game because I was like, oh, I want to play Kingdom Hearts. I know there's a whole bunch of story in it. So when I finally get a PlayStation, dog, I did not realize that it was not, like, the Kingdom Hearts series was not a card game, like a card-based game, because that's what the Game Boy Advance version was.
What? It's a card game?
Chain of Memories is a card game.
It's a weird card game where, like, your attacks are based on cards that you get from killing other enemies. It's like,
oh wow,
it's
it's not Kingdom Hearts.
I thought I didn't know any better, so I just kept playing because I was like, this is it. This is Kingdom Hearts. This is all I'm gonna ever get. And then eventually one day, like, I was telling somebody about it, they're like, what are you playing? That's not the game. Like, that's not how it's played. I was like, what? And I just never played it again. Like,
that must have been like a world-ending moment for you.
That's rough.
Like, the noise they do on like the YouTube videos, but yeah, so.
Was it at least fun? Was it a fun card game?
Like, it was fun. Like, I think I definitely enjoyed playing it, but there's a point where the game gets so ridiculously repetitive, and you never have the cards that you need to do what you.
Of course.
It's personally, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. And also, there's like probably a part of me that just because I that's the only Kingdom Hearts game I played, I want to like it, like in my soul. So
You should try the mobile game.
is that good?
The browser game.
Is that good?
I think those are the same. No.
Oh man, you got me excited. I was like, I can finally play Kingdom Hearts.
No, if you had to play one game, play Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yes.
Two. Okay.
Kingdom Hearts 2 is the one to
But
play.
just be prepared because the game is going to start and you're going to experience what I experienced, which was utter confusion, right?
I think
Because for a long time, you're not even playing as Sora, who is like the most recognizable character.
to be fair, all of the games will do you like that, where nothing's going to make sense and they're going to act like it's okay.
That's true. It's hard to tell the difference between things that haven't been explained and things that you've just missed from previous games.
Mm-hmm.
Square Enix was like, we're gonna put all of the story in it with none of the explanation. Like
Yeah.
you're just we're gonna have all the like everything. Well, you know what? I might get like now I know there's the collections, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
That goes
know
on sale
like
periodically, too.
somebody was telling me like the collections are weird because sometimes they won't have a certain game in them, even though they say that it's a collection of the games. So you got to be like a little
Right.
careful.
That makes sense.
But I would start at 1, even though it's garbage. Like to me, I'll play through the game if I know it's like like an experience, like
Yeah,
more of an
it is.
educational, like like I really want to understand it, and I care about story a lot in games.
Good
So
luck.
as I do in media, I mean to me like incomprehensible. But we'll see. I don't know.
I'm with you.
I don't know.
I
Yeah.
recommend it.
Okay. I might.
I was
do
I
it.
was disappointed by 3, but overall I recommend the series. Just know what you're getting into and you'll be fine.
Okay. I'll add it to my list. Dream Drop.
Shailene will love it. She will be so befuddled. She'll be so indignant with you for playing and making her watch.
Dream Drop half a mile distance. 3. Cool. I'm ready. Okay. Cool. Well, that was good. Okay. Kingdom Hearts. Now I got something on my list. I'll add on my list. Okay. So let's get to the 3s, man. So my number 3. My number 3. Steve has actually seen me play it.
Ooh, I know what it is.
Knack,
What is
baby.
it? What is it? What is it? What is it?
I'm not gonna say because I did Kyle dirty last time. I'm not gonna out your thing before.
It's Knack,
it-
obviously.
My number 3, and though I can't put, it's XCOM 2. I'll just say it.
Yeah.
It's XCOM 2. I would put XCOM in this as well, but XCOM 2 is just XCOM, but even better. So I love tactical games, strategic, turn-based tactical games, and I'm like, and permadeath with permadeath mixed in there, so there's consequences. Man, Steve can speak of it, but I played the mess out of that game, and I took it super serious. Like, I don't know, like there's something about it, like thinking about okay, if I do this, okay, what are my percentages? And like, in the game is permadeath. So okay, let me, for those who don't know what XCOM is basically a turn-based game, a tactical game. So basically what happens is they're like your team and another team. And in this case, it's human soldiers versus alien invaders.
And the aliens are computers. It's not like PV. You're not playing against someone else. Right?
Yeah, they're just NPCs or whatever. They're the game. That's your challenge. And what happens is you have all these units, and the units have different types and characters, different abilities and stuff like that. And when they kill somebody, they get experience. So if they kill an alien, they get experience, which allows them to unlock new abilities and new traits and new blah blah blah, and they get stronger. And but what happens is if your character dies in battle, they're gone forever. They're permadeath. And so what it does is adds this intensity to every fight, because you can be in a game where you're fighting some like pretty low level aliens, and you can get really cocky and put a person in a place where they'll just get murdered. And there's like some ability to revive your character when they get like knocked down or hurt. But like, then that takes away from your strategy of defending and fighting. And it's just, there's nuance of like, okay, are you facing this person? Is their back to you? Do they have cover? You know, what weapons do they have? What's their abilities? What's their, and it's all this percentage game. Like, okay, you have a 70% chance of taking the shot. If you miss though, it might expose you. And then, and it's just really, really good. I don't know. Like,
very tactical.
Very tactical. It's just a game that I really love. It's very, very brutal. And there's a point, like, when I played the game, the first playthrough, I'm going to reload a save. if things go really bad, especially if I like lose a really important character. But like, it's just fun. It has a real big RPG element of upgrading your base. And yeah, XCOM 2, I couldn't say more good things about it. The only thing that I would say is that sometimes it can get a little weird and wonky and glitchy, and then things that you like, an enemy will like disappear, or somebody will shoot you it can get a little bit weird, and that's when it's at its worst. But otherwise, I love the game.
I saw a video, I think it was about Skill Up on XCOM. I tried it once. It was free on PS Plus, I think it was. But I experienced one thing that he talked about in that video, which was like the percentages. You'd be aiming and it'd say like 98%, and you'd shoot and you'd like still miss, or it'd do like a low amount of damage. And I know that's how percentages work. You still have that 2% that your shot isn't going to work. But I was like, I don't like that too much. And then I think that was still part of the tutorial. And then in the tutorial, they show you the permadeath system. And at this point, I was already attached to everybody because I was like, I'm figuring out how to move my units. And then one of them died, and I uninstalled the game. So I was like,
in the tutorial.
Because I was like, no, I can't.
You're too weak.
I couldn't handle it. It was too much. I didn't get past the tutorial.
Nope, I can't do it. Do it.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like what they call like the hardcore mode and like the real mode, like standard mode. Standard mode has saves, and you can do like quick saves. I definitely use that in my first playthrough for sure. And then you can play like elite mode or whatever, where there's like you can only save at the beginning of a fight, and where like there's no like takebacks. I don't know if I can play that mode. Some people play the game where they name people like their friends and family, and I'm like, bro, absolutely not.
Oh, that's intense.
Like, they'll put their mom on the front line. It's like, I'm like, bro, you're out of control. Like,
Graham, no.
No. Like, I can recall a story in the original XCOM where I lost a character that I literally had for like the first 60 hours of the game. I lost him in like the second to last fight. And I literally sat there for like 10 minutes like, what am I going to do? Like, I was like, what am I going to do? Because I didn't have like any saves. And I said, I got to take this one. Like, he died for a purpose. Like, I really had to like take it in. It was serious. But
and that's when those games are at their best, in my opinion, is when you have to deal with the consequences.
Yeah.
Roll with it.
You feel loss.
Yeah. Do.
It means the game's working.
Yeah, it's super effective at that. I definitely like, if you like, XCOM 2 is like a really well made game. Really, in one thing I appreciate about the developers is that like they worked really, really hard to make it so that it's comprehensible by a normal person, because the original games were not comprehensible. And there's so many overlays and so many little stats, but they did a really good job. So anyway, that's my number 3. What about you, Steve?
My number 3 is a recent hit called Hades.
Oh, wow. Talk about it.
I feel a little weird about including a game. All these other games I've played were like formative or like monumental in some way. And Hades, I'm currently playing Hades, so it's weird for me to say, top 5, top 3. But this is why. I love super giant games. My first laptop game or PC gaming experience was on my school laptop back in college, and I played a bunch of indie games, and one of them was called Bastion. And I loved it. It was so cool. I think I've talked about it on this podcast. If not, I've definitely told you guys about it.
Yeah.
And they've come out with more games since then. And then they came out with Hades, and Hades was the first game that Supergiant came out with that I think has like critical reception,
Yeah,
like
it blew
everyone
up.
just playing it, you know, just especially with streaming, it's just really blown up. So yeah, what I love about Hades is that it's their first time having a roguelike game, and a roguelike is when the actual game length is somewhat short, maybe like an hour or less to play the whole thing, or maybe there's longer games probably, but this game happens to be less than an hour. But the game relies on the fact that you're going to die a lot. And when you die, you lose all of your progress through the game. And depending on how the developer has designed it, you might lose all or some of your resources. And that's the point. The point is for you to start over fresh every time. And maybe you get incrementally stronger by collecting some resource that does not go away. So in this case, you collect something called darkness and you use that to upgrade your character. And then, you know, as you play, you pick up all these special powers and abilities, and then you die and you lose all of them, but your upgrades to your character are still there. So I'm not going to get into all the details of like the game mechanics and stuff, because I'll probably talk for a long time, but I really love, I was saying earlier, it's their first time first time with a roguelike game. However, for me, and I assume for most people having played all of their backlog, the like 3 or 4 games they've made already, it feels like the perfect evolution of Supergiant's gaming. Like there's tidbits of mechanics and decisions that I see from all the other previous games in Hades. And so for me, I'm like, yeah, it's not like defining a genre, but it really feels like they could have made this game and it could have been the first roguelike game, and like everyone would be like, wow, roguelikes. But it feels like they got there on their own. It doesn't really feel like they took a lot of cues from other roguelikes.
Interesting.
So I love it.
So it's like a culmination of their experience over time. It just seemed like a natural progression to something like this. That's really cool.
The way that you can like replay. So in the first game, you can replay levels with different weapon loadouts. All of their games have a system for making the game harder. That isn't even, it's available during the game. You don't even have to do it like at the end. You can, or after beating it, like you can make the game very hard very quickly. And there's like trade-offs for that. The replayable levels in some games, the way they tell stories through dialogue in all of their games. I haven't played Pyre, but especially apparently Pyre was really big on that. As the story, the gameplay has nothing to do with story. It's very simple, but then it's just like this. You just play the roguelike over and over and over, but then as you play, you unlock more dialogue, and that's how you do stories. That's how you do kind of these like more nuanced quests. It's just by talking to people. But anyway, if you don't care about any of that, here's my pitch, right? Hades is a beautiful game. The art is incredible. The voice acting is all insane. The writing is excellent.
It's top
The
notch.
music is ultra hype. I love the music.
So
I listen to it outside of the game. What else?
But if you do listen to the music, beware spoilers to a degree.
Not really. I mean, if you're paying attention to the lyrics, you can probably extrapolate some of like story elements, but all of their songs are always kind of vague, so you can definitely ignore.
Well, there was one in particular that that you don't hear till you get to a certain level or a certain point of the game, and then the alternate version, I'll say, you don't hear until way later.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I guess the songs themselves can be spoiled. So yes, the soundtrack is a spoiler in that way.
Interesting.
But it's not like spoiling story or anything.
Which I think from a narrative perspective is like incredible, because the music is often like backtracking. It's like, oh, this is final boss track, but that doesn't necessarily spoil the final boss. While in this game, this track is linked to a character that you'll meet in part of the game, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Huh. That's super cool. I think that
it's really great.
I feel like John Williams does that with some of his music. If you if you go back like some of his Star Wars music and you look at the titles of his tracks and then the progression of how things flow, you could actually figure out how the movie was going to go, because the music is just that sweeping and telling you so much about the movie, and the
Yeah.
titles are like, but maybe not as clear as Hades, but that's a powerful statement. I mean, John Williams is the gold standard, so
Yeah.
He's a beast.
okay.
The gameplay is addictive. It has tons and tons of replayability. I've made, I think, over 60, maybe 65 attempts to escape from the underworld in this game. And that's attempts, whether I failed or lived.
Okay.
It's like surprisingly moving. I've gotten invested in some of these characters, even though I literally just talk to them and like give them nectar. Like that's the only way that you interact with most characters is just talking to them. And I'm like, wow, I want to like help them with their little problems and stuff. And I just love Supergiant. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
Very
I
solid
think
game.
I still haven't. It's one of those games. Like I do this with games sometimes that I really want to play, like Spiderman on PS4, PS5. I won't look at anything about them. I won't look at trailers. I won't look at nothing. Like all I know is that Hades is the #1 rated game on the PS5 right now.
Whoa.
So,
What?
Yeah, it's the highest rated game on the PS5.
Snap.
Wow.
So that's telling. So
What else is telling? I bought the game on Switch on a recommendation, and I bought it again on PC just so I could play it at a higher
I can
resolution.
play it everywhere. I need it on my fridge. I need it on.
Yeah, there's very few games I've bought twice just so I could play them in more places.
That's awesome. Cool. Hades, definitely. Cool, Mr. Kyle, number 3. What you got?
So my number 3 is Assassin's Creed,
Oh,
the first one. I enjoyed
Whoa.
the first 4 up to Black Flag, but the first one, I think, it not from a gameplay perspective necessarily, but just because of I guess everything that game did, as far as I don't know, like the innovation, and then the story was just so good. And like it's hard to explain, I guess, just like where games were when that game came out is like one of those things. Kind of how like when Half-Life came out, how it was just one of those games that was just, where did this come from? Like what were the people who were working on this thinking? Like they're on another level. And so unfortunately they beat the horse to death and then continued to beat it, cremated it, then put its remains into a robot horse and then beat that horse to death.
And brought it up in Dead Rising. And then
Yes. So the series is all but unrecognizable right now. But if you haven't played the first Assassin's Creed, I can't recommend it enough for the narrative beats alone. Because on the surface, it seems like, oh, I'm just this rogue killer who's, performing these jobs. I have these really cool weapons. But then it just takes a turn, man. And I don't want to spoil it. I don't know if have you guys played it?
I have.
No,
I have.
actually.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I mean, I think Assassin's Creed 1 makes like I think, Kyle, you hit the nail on the head, where it's like it's a game where you're just like, oh, it's a cool like mechanics, and then you're like, whoa, there's like so much more to this, and how they've really weaved even history and like the attention to detail. Like there's a whole, like, if you want to get into it, how they went and they made these levels is like almost 1-to-1 to some of the ancient places that existed. But yeah, where they go, and then to me, it makes Assassin's Creed 2. Well, I guess Assassin's Creed 2, I don't know, the game's weird on like how it did it. It's like Assassin's Creed 1, Assassin's Creed 2, and then like Revelations, or like I can't remember exactly the order, but it basically makes those next 3-4 games like just awesome. It's just what they set
them.
what they set up in that first game, just and I think it's one of those rare games that's, even though it's been out for like more than a decade, it's worth not spoiling because it's that good.
Yeah. Like if there's any chance that you're going to play, because they're not long games either. Like the first couple aren't.
Okay.
And I would say, like, just adding what you said, Kyle, about the story, I think the cool side quests that reveal more interesting things about the world is like one of my favorite inside. I think that's Assassin's Creed 2, but I don't know. I just think what they did with the whole, the first few games is just
Assassin's Creed 2, because Revelations, I think, hit so hard because of Assassin's Creed 2, because that was they brought Ezio from 2, like he was in like, I think he had his own like trilogy of games, but in Assassin's Creed 2, they did like their due diligence, like making you just really empathize with the character, see what his motivations were, and then like he grows so much over the course of the games, and then like you said, they lean upon each other so much, and it's like the story progresses but it's not like in a cheesy way. It's just like
exactly.
It's
hard because you can't even like you want to say something but you can't because if you do then it's like
I'm not getting anything.
Yeah, so,
from what you guys are saying.
Yeah. Good.
But sounds cool.
Kyle doing a good job. Is this so cool? Like you want to talk about it? It's like
yes.
Like especially some of the stuff, but
which is one of the reasons why the movie was so disappointing. Because if you played any of the games, then you know how much potential the movie had from a narrative standpoint.
Yeah. It didn't even have like if you think about it, it didn't even have to go heavy on the action. It could have really just stayed in the story realm, made it more, Yeah. So, wow. Good one, Cal. Okay. All right. Now we get into the top twos here. So my number deuce, for me is this to me is the OG game. Everybody it's probably on everybody's top 10 list somewhere in the world is Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Call that too.
To me, I think for me, it's also one of those formative games where it really introduced me into. I think it took me to the next stage of what it was for me to be a gamer, combining of story, gameplay, the world, just quality, music, everything about it was so just clean and tight, especially during that time. Even inventing Z targeting, which is now the standard. It just was perfect. It was just Nintendo doing what they do best. We're gonna make the best game for what we're trying to do, and the narrative it told. I think to me, I'm always a big lore world type of person. I love universes. I love the idea of the mythical and the mystical and all this stuff, and just how they did everything. And I think there's Zelda games with better stories. I think Twilight Princess, I enjoy its story a lot, and even Wind Waker. But I think Ocarina of Time matter of fact, I would say that Majora's Mask story is even though it's super super out there, it's super super interesting and maybe a little bit better than Ocarina of Time. But I would say Ocarina of Time just as a whole is just a masterpiece, and I think it really elevated every game that came after it. Similar to how I feel about Super Metroid, I feel like Ocarina of Time is the gold standard, was a masterpiece. You could retire off of that. But also I think for me, I think it made me grow up. I just remember being so scared at certain points in the game. There's a point where you have to go underground and you have to deal with these zombies, the Re-Deads or whatever they're called. And I just remember honestly, I couldn't play that part of the game if it was nighttime or if it was evening. I had to do it during the day. I was so terrified. And there's just a lot of secrets and bonuses and then just the world and this whole idea of timelines and how they did it and just everything. To me, that game was just awesome. I just loved it. I don't know if you guys.
Sounds like
I remember when
perfect fantasy.
Sorry, what'd you say, Steve?
I was just saying it sounds like a perfect fantasy.
Yeah, it really was. And Kyle, what were you about to say?
I was gonna say I agree with no playing against Re-Deads at night because those blocky graphics, man. Just because they were cutting edge for the time, they would give me nightmares.
Yep.
Legitimately.
Yep. And then they would do these freeze frames, then zoom ins, and then the scream, and you're just like, yo, bro, I just can't do this. Like, literally, I remember trying to play it one time, and I said, I can't. And I just bailed. Like, I just left. I was like, nope, I don't need the what was it, the lens of truth or whatever was needed.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Pass.
I'm good. I can finish the game without it. But yeah, I think that's definitely my number 2. It would be my number 1. It would almost be my number 1, but my number 1 has a very, very different. Yeah. So yeah, that's my number 2.
Have you ever seen the Hercules game from the TV show that pretty much like stole the opening sequence?
No, I've not.
It's like it's so just like unapologetically ripping off Legend of Zelda, but you're playing as like anatomically like correct. What was that? It wasn't
Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah, Kevin Sorbo. But you're like picking up the rocks and stuff. It's so dumb.
I gotta go and watch that. Kevin Sorbo's Hercules. It's the Legend of Zelda edition. Hilarious.
I hate to say it, but I'm probably never going to play Ocarina of Time unless it's remade.
It's been remade on the 3DS. They'll probably remake it again.
Probably.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's what let me rephrase. Yeah, unless it's remade on the Switch.
He's not going to play it till it's Ocarina of Time VR.
But you know what? But Nintendo's the type of people who are like, nah, we already remade it. We're not doing that again. Like, we don't care what you want, how you want it, when you want it, and if you'll pay us money for it, we're not going to do it. Nintendo's.
That's fair. You could convince me to emulate it, perhaps. Emulate the remake, because I don't have a 3DS and I'm not going to buy one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying to go out there and play illegal versions of anything ever, but I do know that there's some existing versions that you can play it. I would say buy the game and then maybe play one of the like fan mod versions, emulations.
Ooh, yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know about those. I can't speak of them. All I can say, I know they exist. But Mr. Steve, what's your number 2?
All right, my number 2 is kind of a niche favorite. I used to gush about it a lot. I got 2 guys to play it. Hollow Knight.
I knew it. I was like, if there's a game,
knew it was coming.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming. I was like, it's either it's number 1 or, you know.
Yeah, that means you probably know what my number 1 is then.
I gotta think about it, but yeah, continue.
All right, you keep thinking. But yeah, Hollow Knight. I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Metroid Prime, I was like, oh, I love Metroidvanias. And for me, Hollow Knight is like, first of all, not really innovative at all, but it takes like the best features of a Metroidvania and just polishes it to like a pristine, gleaming sheen. Like it's so well polished. It's such a well-made game. It has hours and hours of content just in the base game. But then on top of that, Team Cherry released, I think it was 3, perhaps 4 free updates, free expansions for the game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's just tons of stuff to do. Actually, I have to play it again because after I bought it and played it, they released something called, I think it was Godmaster was the latest and last update, expansion. And now that I think about it, it had already come out, but I never interacted with any of the content from the Grim Troop expansion. So I somehow missed stuff, even though I was very careful.
Wow.
How many copies of that one have you bought?
I have bought 2.
Oh.
I bought 1 on PC and I played through all the way. Well, I say all the way, except for the things I just mentioned that I missed. I will also say I have not gotten the best ending. There is a certain you're supposed to do. There's a certain action you have to take, and then you have to beat a really insane boss. And I took the action. I have not been able to beat that boss. So
It's
I got
a bucket list kind of thing.
yeah, I got at least one of the endings, so I have beaten the game, and I'm fine with that. I refuse to read any of the lore because I don't want to know what happens in the true ending.
Yo,
it's been like 5 years.
I totally understand, though. I respect that. I respect that.
Yeah, maybe 4 years, but yeah. I have this YouTube video saved in my watch later list. It's like, oh, the Hollow Knight lore, Civilization Explained, and it's like at the top of the list because I've watched everything that came before, and I'm never gonna watch this video. But after I bought it on PC, I bought it on Switch because they had a physical limited run edition,
Ooh.
and I have no intention of playing it on Switch. Maybe I will someday. I just really wanted to support the devs.
And it's still
game
in
is
the
$15. I mean, I've opened it.
Oh, because
Yeah.
you never know.
I haven't done anything with it. I'm just not
I
gonna
was
play
like, if
it.
you kept in the packaging, sell that joint.
No, I'm not that man. Maybe I should be that man though.
Too late now.
It's
Won't
too
get
late.
one chance.
But yeah, the game is $15 at most, and in my mind that's a steal. I do not wait for this game to go on sale. Just buy it for $15, please.
It's very good. It looks great.
Yeah, I mean the art is fantastic. It's got nice music. The gameplay is really satisfying. You have like really quick attacks. You can down attack on most surfaces to like bounce off them, which I don't think you can do in most other games. It takes precise timing, and you can like down attack off of enemies. We were just talking about how in Metroid 2 you can freeze enemies to use them as platforms.
Yeah.
You can do that in this game. You don't freeze them. You just have to basically attack bounce them. So it involves a little bit more skill. It's great. I love it. And there's a sequel, not a sequel. I guess it's a sequel. Silk Song is coming out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Someday.
How about
Everyone's ultra hyped for that.
It looks
Oh, yeah.
really good.
Everyone
too.
being me.
that? No, I really feel like the internet was super hyped when that junk came out. Like when they announced that junk.
Everybody wants Nintendo to announce it for some reason. I'm like, you guys know these people aren't like, they're not part of Nintendo. Like this isn't a Nintendo game.
They're gonna send Sakurai over. Like, you better get this boy.
Would have been Smash.
Yeah.
No, you know.
It also has. Oh,
Yeah, go
I'll
ahead.
let you go.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the lore is absurd. From what I mean, if you thought the atmosphere in like Legend of Zelda or Metroid was like really well done, bro, the world building and the atmosphere in this game is so hype. I've uncovered I think most of it, and I mean the story itself is like whatever, it's a story, but like just the depth and the complexity of what's going on and the
universe. The universe.
the raising stakes of like what you are and what your destiny is as you play, and it's never outright told to you. You have to like figure it out as you go. It's so much fun. It's kind of like Dark Souls in that way, or most Metroidvanias, I guess. But
That's pretty cool.
like I said, polished to a gleam.
Let me say this to all you guys listening. There was a period of time when I knew Steve, when if I wasn't sure what Steve was going to say to me, and if I wanted to bet on it, if I just was like, someone's like, bet what Steve is going to talk about when you see him next. Like, I probably had like a 50-50 chance that it would be Hollow Knight and that I get paid.
Yeah.
Like, he was like about that life, and not even like, like really over the top way. It was just like Hollow Knight always found a way to like connect. Like, we could be talking about like, oh, somebody just had a new baby. Like, well, in Hollow Knight.
Yeah. There are babies in Hollow Knight.
See?
There it is.
You
You have to save them.
You think I'm playing? That's hilarious. No,
I played that game for a little while. You have to save they were like slug babies.
They're grubs, yeah.
Grub
Little
baby.
caterpillar babies.
I still haven't played it at all. I know like almost nothing about it. It's like just one of those games where I just have had a willful blindness to it, but not because I want to play it or don't want to play. It's just like, if it shows up, if it's like a free PlayStation Plus game, I'll definitely play it. But
No. Spend $15 on it.
I don't know. Like, I really have to like I need to play Hades first. I need to play XCOM 2 again, and then
Hades is very
I came so close to missing it, guys. So I played it right when I bought it, whenever it came out. I don't know why I bought it to begin with, because it wasn't even that hype back then. But I played it and I didn't like it.
Ooh.
Like, I got stuck in like the first level, and I was like, I can't figure this out. I can't beat these like mini bosses. It's so hard. And then I don't know why, but months later, I felt like I had to come back to it, and that was when I was living in Baton Rouge, and I realized that my controller was just janky. Like it was janky controller, and I think there was like some delay as well. And so once I changed my controller, guys, the world opened
He'd
up.
been
to
playing
me.
on a Dreamcast controller the whole time.
I had been playing. I had been playing on my DK bongos. That was
Oh gosh, better than using the Wii U or something like the stupid movement controls. Anyway, wow. Okay, Hollow Knight number two. All right, Kyle.
Very good.
What's your number 2?
Cool. So my number 2 is also a game with heavy platforming. Came out a couple years ago. Might be maybe a weird pick, but Super Mario Odyssey is my number 2.
Okay.
Just because, like, there was like I guess a time before up until that game came out where I was kind of like in a lull as far as games were concerned, and it kind of reinvigorated everything. Like brought me kind of back to my childhood. I didn't spend a whole lot of time with Super Mario 64, but you know I've played a bunch of like solid games like over the years, and so that's something I was kind of waiting for. It's just like for a game with a really solid identity to kind of come into my life. And for me, the Super Mario Odyssey was, you know, like it knew what it wanted to be. Right, it was a Nintendo game, and it didn't do anything else. And what it did do, it did perfectly. And so, like, I spent hours playing that game, like every night after I bought it, and I played it all the way through, probably in like 3 days. And it's a longer game as far as like Mario games are concerned, in my opinion.
It has like 900 moons or something, right?
Right, yeah. To get to, and hopefully this isn't a spoiler at this point, but to get to the darker side of the moon, which is the like official last level, whereas there's like a gauntlet, it took like 500 moons. And to beat the game, I think was around 300 moons to get to.
It's much less.
Yeah. And so it was like, you know, you had to go back to all the different worlds and you had to complete challenges, and it wasn't a grueling task because the movement system in Mario Odyssey is like second to none. Like there's not another game that I can think of offhand where you just felt so free to move anywhere you wanted at any point. It's super responsive, like so it felt good to do the challenges.
It feels really good.
Because there weren't, like, the challenges were based around what movements you had, and on top of that, movements you didn't know what you could do, but it never felt like there was a challenge that was created that somebody didn't like test. And it's hard to, I guess, kind of explain, but I guess in the same way where you do a platforming section in a first-person game, it never felt like we were doing like some weird, I don't know,
gimpy
first-person challenge in a third-person platformer. You know, it never felt disconnected what your objective was versus what you could do. Like that came down to the boss fights, you know, which were simple, but they held true to what mechanics you had at your disposal.
Yeah. It's to me, it's interesting because, like, you know, I really loved Super Mario Odyssey. I didn't finish it because of many random reasons, but not because I didn't want to keep playing it. But you know, it's so interesting, and maybe I'm wrong on this, and I'm telling another person's story, but I feel like Super Mario Odyssey made one of our friends into a gamer. And that friend would be Tasha, because I feel like she heard about it and then she started playing it, and then I don't know, like it just seemed like it was such a pure game, like that somebody who wasn't a big gamer could like really like get into it and really enjoy it. And I think that speaks volumes to how, like you just talked about, Kyle, like how it was just like purely itself. It took away everything else. It was like, this is a Mario game. We're going to talk about jumping, getting these moons, and having a great time.
Mm-hmm.
I think technically she was already dipping her toes, especially with like Smash Bros. Because of all the people she was hanging out with. But you're right. I remember I lent it to her. I lent her Odyssey. And she had it at least a few months, I think. I don't think she played the entire time, but From what I recall, she bought it afterwards. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, that was definitely one of the very early steps in her recent gamer journey. I think she used to play more games,
Like when she was younger,
old
maybe.
games. Yeah, when she was younger. But in terms of like, now that she has a family and a job and she's a functioning adult, I think this was, yeah, like I said, one of the really early steps for her. That was cool.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It really is like that.
And now that you mentioned that part of it, I think Mario games in general have always lent themselves to being accessible no matter how much time you have. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like you can jump in for 10 minutes and go find a moon, in this one, and then save and put it down if you need to. Or if you're a kid, you could spend hours in these levels just running around,
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I think I collected almost every moon in that game as well.
Snap.
I recently was replaying Super Mario Odyssey. Not Odyssey. We're talking about Odyssey.
Galaxy?
Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh.
I've dabbled my toe in Galaxy. I'll probably spend more time with it later. But right now I've been playing Sunshine. I have, I think, like 80 shine sprites now. Out of, I think it's 99 or 100 total. And I remember people were upset because they really wanted, I mean, first of all, everyone loves Odyssey, pretty much everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the downsides was like, oh, there's not a hub world. We really liked Delfino Plaza and the castle or Delfino Plaza from Sunshine and the castle from Mario 64,
Mm-hmm.
where it's this hub world and there's lots of little things to do and there's tons of stuff. And what I realized is that, yes, Odyssey does not have a hub world, but the thing that we care about in a hub world is all the little things to do. And every world in Odyssey is like that,
Yes.
pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except maybe like the Forgotten World or something. But like,
And if
no, not the Forgotten World. The Ruined World. That's the one that doesn't have much stuff.
right, yeah, you just kind of run through that one.
Yeah, but like, there's just I was playing Sunshine and I'm like picking up shine sprites from eating a yellow bird as Yoshi or playing this stupid pachinko game, God, or like that Poison River thing where you're on a leaf and you have to like
Mm-hmm.
navigate the leaf to get all the red coins.
Yeah.
And these are all accessible from Delfino Plaza. And I'm like, this is some like Mario Odyssey stuff. Like this would have happened in any of the worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I get it. I'm with it.
I think that's one of the places where people kind of discount just how much Odyssey expanded on the Mario formula, is that really each of the worlds, I guess or are they called worlds in that? Or kingdoms, each of the kingdoms.
Kingdoms, you're right.
Each of the kingdoms do have like a hub area where there's just a bunch of NPCs standing around, and some of them do have little side quests. But then when you walk out of there, you don't walk like through a painting or, jump into a mark on the wall like in Sunshine. Like, once you walk out of there, the whole world is there for you to explore. And then every objective is accessible at any moment rather than you having to jump back and forth between hub worlds or load into a... Like, one of the weird things that kind of pulled me out of Sunshine was that the challenge levels felt like they were like in space or something. And so, and they had like these, like Unity primitives floating in the air that you had to jump across. And I'm like, but how does this have anything to do with Delfino Plaza? And I didn't feel that way at all about Odyssey. Everything felt like it was contained.
Well, that's not true. There's a few levels in Odyssey where they're kind of just out in some sort of... I mean, they're more fleshed out. Yeah, but they're out in some void somewhere.
Yeah, I remember there was one in the ice level, where you'd walk through the special doors, but they'd at least still be
special doors.
They'd at least still be themed,
I think really what Super Mario Odyssey is kind of like what we've been kind of describing about other games. It's the culmination of knowledge. Right? Like, it's years and years of doing things and realizing what is good. Like, you guys haven't... Well, Kyle, you've played Galaxy, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, like Galaxy 1 and 2 was like... Kind of like, everyone's like, oh, this is like the end. Like, what else can they do? They've made this gravity-based, like, da-da-da-da. But Nintendo was like, no. We were, like, trying this. We were doing this. We were doing this. And we're bringing it all together. Like this world idea, because we've already been doing worlds for years, from decades, right? Like Super Mario on the Super Nintendo was Worlds.
Yeah.
And now we're doing Kingdoms, and now we're like the hub worlds. We kind of experimented with that in 64, and then we continued to build on it. And I just feel like it was just like, yeah, let's put it all together, guys. Like, let's put it all together. We're gonna, we're making a Switch game. We're making a new console. Let's make people buy this thing.
And speaking of being on the Switch, it looks fantastic to be on the Switch.
Oh yeah, it's a gorgeous game.
Yeah,
for a Mario game, it's gorgeous. Game.
The art style, they did a really good. I mean, I just remember thinking to myself how weird it was that they had like real humans. Like people were talking about all over the internet, right? Real humans, and then but you figure out later like there's a whole lore behind what people think why they're different. But it's like even though in a weird way it's like these humans and Mario should be the same. Like it just all looked good. It all looked great and all felt good. So yeah, that's real. Cool, man. Good.
And they did such a good job with the skill ceiling and floor. So the game, first of all, there's no lives, so you can die as many times as you want. You just lose coins, but coins are easy to find
everywhere.
There's, an infinite number of them. So the skill ceiling, and then on top of the infinite deaths, you also have all the capture mechanics. Like a lot of these enemies and monsters and objects that you capture make the game a lot easier. And at first, as you play through them, you might think, oh, this is just what you're supposed to do. And I guess it is. But they also have a really, really high skill ceiling where a lot of people have figured out how to clear most of the objectives without capturing things. Just running around, movement. There's like invisible platforms. People figure out where the platforms are. Just not necessarily skill, but memorization, I guess. But so you don't need to capture the sunglasses guy that can see the invisible platforms. You just run on the platforms.
Yeah.
They even have an invisible, you can collect suits in the game. There's an invisible Mario suit, which makes the game a lot harder. Yes. And I tried playing that, and it's pretty bonkers. But yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff to raise the challenge in that game.
Yeah, I think they created they made a system so tight. They just made these systems so tight that they're like, cool, have fun with it. Like, if you're just going to play casually, like me, I'm probably more on the casual end. I didn't really go out of my way to get any sun. I got exactly what I needed to go to the next world. If I saw it, I didn't spend too much time. So I enjoyed it on a casual perspective, right? And then if you want to go hardcore and get all 900, there's so much more. So they really catered to every type of player without going here's a hard mode, here's an easy mode, here's a, which I think is incredibly difficult. So.
Yeah,
they do have an easy mode. It just makes you not die at all, which I'm like, it's basically already on easy mode.
It's basically you're a little kid and you have no clue what's happening mode.
Right. Yeah, which is great. That's exactly what they needed. That was the only thing I would say was missing from the normal mode in terms of accessibility.
Yeah, that's super cool. Cool, man. Good one, Kyle. All right, our number ones. As we come in here for a landing. All right, my number one. And I actually did not realize this was my number one until today when I said, you know what, let me look at my games to see if there's any games that I'm forgetting. And I was forgetting a game. And I realized that I had literally bought this game on every platform that I possibly could over the course of my life.
Skyrim.
Not Skyrim. I don't have it on my smartwatch. That game was Final Fantasy Tactics. So this is a real deep, this is a real personal choice. My brother introduced me to Final Fantasy Tactics, him and his best friend, and I just would watch them play. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I played it, and basically Final Fantasy Tactics is just the predecessor to XCOM. It's a turn-based strategy, permadeath. If you die in the battle, you're dead. And you can level up in the game to get new abilities and new character classes and stuff. But there's this really fluid class system, and man, now I'm excited. I want to go play it. I'm literally kidding myself pumped about it. You can have all these different classes, and it's super complex. And I have an archer, and I have a mage, and I have a black knight, and a dark knight, a white mage, a dark mage. And the game, the storyline is kind of Kingdom Heartsy in a way, but
Dark versus light.
yeah, and no, what I mean to say is that it's very, very like convoluted. In like, there's all these characters. Maybe it's not Kingdom Heartsy, but it's just super convoluted. There's like 30 to 50 characters, and they all have very complex names, and they have all and it's very political and very like it has like religious undertones and like, but where it goes is super crazy in the storyline, and but there's all these Easter eggs. You can get Cloud from Final Fantasy VII in it, like, and
cool.
It's all about like how you level your characters, and I mean, there's fights that honestly, literally, almost made me never be able to play the game again. Not because I wanted to rage quit, but because it was so hard, and it was like I entered the fight with the wrong setup, and I couldn't correct it because of the path that I had chosen, and there's no way to go back. And like literally, I was like, I'm never gonna beat this game because I can't beat this fight because I don't have the right skills. I don't know. Anyway, this game, I've literally bought it on my computer, on my 3DS, on my my PSP, on my phone, on
you were the
like,
whale.
Like literally, I buy it on every platform, and I read
and
I interview. Like remember Steve at the house? I was like, "Hey man, I'm looking for games that are like Final Fantasy." Remember? And I bought what was it? I bought some game on the 3D. I'm sorry, on the Switch. I'm forgetting it now, but it's like a turn-based strategy just to tide me over from my Final Fantasy tactics. I can't remember the name. I can't remember the name of the game now that Final Fantasy.
It wasn't Fire Emblem, was it?
No, not Fire Emblem.
Bravely Default.
No,
No, it wasn't.
It is the game, and it's like I'd have to like just look it up. But yeah, like I buy games to tide me over from Final Fantasy Tactics because I'm like, I want to play Tactics, but I got to find a game that kind of makes me feel that. XCOM is that for me, you know. But yeah, so this game. I mean, I think most people will probably think it's stupid if they played it, but I don't know. I've played that game so many hours. I've like tried, like even trying to max out my characters. They're still not strong enough. like I've made these I did make these class like party builds that are super broken. Literally where like it's a turn-based system where like characters go at different times. I've made it where basically the other team can never go again. like my characters are so fast and they're so slow from like all these things where I just can beat them up and just do whatever I want. I used like to level, like I'd power level characters by having one character just heal a person over and over, my enemy, so my other character can just keep hurting them and getting experience. And I'll spend like 3 to 4 hours just power leveling a character. Like that's how crazy I was with Final Fantasy Tactics.
The grind is real.
Yeah, it's definitely a grindy game, but I love it. I
think Final Fantasy is known for the grind.
Yes, in this game, it's probably like the most egregious because like the battles take like 20 minutes, and you only way you get experience is by actually doing attacks. So you can't like just be in the fight. You have to actually fight and like do stuff. But it's cool. You can use that system to gimp and grow and power level. So,
surprised they haven't made a tactics game with like a horrible microtransactions yet. Then, or maybe
I'm pretty sure they have. I'm pretty sure they have.
Well,
yeah,
I'm
like
no longer surprised.
it's one of those games where it's like they have so many versions of it that you kind of have to be careful and like make sure that you don't get the wrong version. Because they have all these like, you know, but yeah, so that's like my number one. And I don't think it's just I've spent so many hours, and it's, to me, I'm like, I'm about to go find a system that I can play it on now, because I'm like, oh man, I still, even though I had the other game, the fact that I can't remember its name, like it clearly didn't feel. It's a great game, but I can't remember the name of the game. But I'll figure it out before the end of this podcast. But yeah, that's my number one. I don't know if you guys have ever played Tactics, but clearly that's like my kind of game. Turn-based strategy. I love that.
Nice. No, I haven't played that one.
Yeah, so
I've barely heard of it, to be honest.
well, one day, you know, like it's basically XCOM without the fluff. It's just like
it did make a tactics game on the Switch not so long ago, based off of like an old TV show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I forgot
Ban-
what it's called.
The
It's
game
like
I'm thinking of is Banner
puppets.
Saga. Banner Saga.
Oh, yeah, I was never going to remember
Oh, and
that.
Mario plus Rabbids is kind of that game. Like
Oh,
basically Final
yeah.
Fantasy Tactics. In the
Right,
newer.
right.
And it's supposed to be really good, and I need to buy it. Nope, I think that's the game I'm going to get next for my
Yeah, you
Switch.
should.
I heard
It's
really,
pretty
really
good. Yeah, I like it.
I like tactical games, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't even like
All right,
tactical
I'm
games,
gonna-
but I enjoyed that one.
I'm going to rush through mine a bit, all right, if that's okay with you
Yeah,
guys.
go ahead.
So my number one, and I assume that Brad can guess this because
I don't know. I'm thinking.
I had like you haven't even been thinking. Well,
No, I have been.
it was great because I was working at IBM
Mm-hmm.
and this was like right when the pandemic was about to start, or maybe I was just home a lot, but I was benched a lot. So I didn't have any work and I was like trying to find work, but you can't just do that all day. So I played a lot of this game called Prey.
Okay.
Oh.
Prey is there's like another game called Prey that came out a
Long
while
time
ago,
ago.
but it's Prey, I guess 2016. People expected there to be a sequel. There wasn't. This is, I guess you could say, the sequel, but
spiritual
it's not even really a
successor
sequel.
would be a good way to
It's the spiritual successor that stole its name, correct? And so in Prey, it's a first-person like shooter / adventure game, and you play as a scientist, basically trying to. It's like your first day at this new job, right? On the space station where your brother works, and it's like this company that you two own together or something. I don't really know, but you're going up to the space station, and eventually you get there, and things are not going well. How do I don't want to say too much. Essentially, you're trying to fend off some sort of alien invasion, right? Which on the surface, that's what it is. So you're just running around, trying to survive and trying to finish these goals and stuff. But what I love about this game, the reason it's my number one, it's somewhat scary, but it's not super scary.
It's creepy.
It definitely pulled me in. Like the way it's just everything about it just pulled me in immediately. The sound design, the graphics. My voice is going out. Wow, the graphics are pretty decent. Like it's great. The mystery of what's going on. There's a lot of like confusion about what's happening and what's real and what's not real at the beginning. And so that really got my attention. But what I really loved at the end of the game was the sense of morality. And I've explained this before, and I'll go through it again quickly. But basically, normally when I play a game, I have to choose if I'm going to be like playing, like actually role playing or not. Like if I'm the Dragonborn in Skyrim, like am I really the Dragonborn, or am I Steve playing as the Dragonborn and making decisions that are going to benefit the gameplay, right?
Yeah.
In this game, there are actual moral choices that you make where it really, and I can't think of all the reasoning now, but like it really feels like you're making the choices as Steve, right?
Yeah.
Not as someone playing a game.
That's cool.
Yeah. I don't want to get into any of the choices. I know there's all right, I'll explain, or I'll mention one. There's one where you have a decision. There's a man who you find in a room. And first of all, you don't find a lot of living people in this game. So that's already pretty impressive. He's a prisoner, and you have the choice whether to free him. And he says if you free him, he'll unlock a secured in-armory for you, and you can get all these cool weapons, which you don't really need, but it'd be nice to have. Or you can finish the experiment they were going to conduct on him, in which case you don't know what you get, but you know it's like, okay, well, I'll free him. But then you read the I guess the logs for him, and you find out that he's like a convicted like child rapist or something.
Oh, gosh.
And as you're reading it, he's like, I didn't do that stuff. Like, you know, it wasn't, I've screwed up. I'm a bad guy, but I didn't do any of that, you know, and I don't deserve this. And so you make the decision whether you're going to free him or not. I ended up freeing him because first of all, I got into the armory without his help. I didn't need him, but I freed him because I figured, you know, I'm in a situation where there's not a lot of people, and we should stick together when we can. Later, I met another human. and things did not go as well with the other human. So you find more people as you go, but like there's a lot of moral decisions. A lot of the side quests are like, how are you going to handle this? And even like the story revolves around morality and decision making. And I don't want to say anything else. There's some honestly fantastic twists that I did not see coming in this game. The ending is absurd, like the twist at the end. Yeah, it's just great. And I was living with Brad when I played this game. And I think I even got our roommate Smiles to play this game.
Yes, you did.
And I was just obsessed. I absolutely could not put it down. I played for hours and hours at a time. So that's my number one.
Yeah.
Is Prey the one with? Hopefully, this isn't a spoiler. Is that the one with the glue gun?
It is the one with the glue gun. I didn't want to talk about it. The glue gun's really cool. It can be used for various things. That's another reason I like it. But
yes,
yeah.
I honestly, I wouldn't have called it, but now that you said the game, I was like, absolutely makes sense.
Yeah,
how much, you know. But yeah, I definitely got to play Prey. It's on my list of games, especially because of you, Steve. I probably wouldn't have played it if it was considered playing it. All right, Kyle, number one, what you got?
Number one. Okay, so this is a game that I've advocated for a good bit, and especially now that you've got a PS5, Brad, you have to play this game, or I should say series now that they're started, but the Marvel Spiderman.
Wow.
That originally came out on PS4. And I've chosen Miles Morales as my number one. I think they're both really great. However, Miles Morales undoubtedly is more of the same, but improves on the biggest issues with an already great game to where it's like now probably one of the more, it's probably a perfect superhero game, at least for Spider-Man.
Okay.
You know, you really feel like Spider-Man in that game. It goes without saying, you know, if you've seen any of the gameplay like footage, it looks like a movie, you know, and like they really thought through the combat. You know, it gets a lot of comparisons to, like the Arkham games, and it fits right at home, I guess, with the MCU, even though it's its own thing. But if you haven't played it, highly recommend.
Okay.
I definitely want to play it when I get a PS5.
Yeah, I recommend it even on PS4. I played both of them on PS4. From what I have heard, the biggest thing is the load times, which, in my opinion, aren't terrible on PS4. But I mean, if they're non-existent, of course, that's better. So,
yeah, yeah, I definitely want to play that game. I just remember you talking about it, Kyle. I would see you playing it on your PS4 all the time. I'm like, man, like I'd be so mad. Yeah, I just feel like it's one of those games that just seems so beautiful. It just seems like, I love the Spider-Man games that came out, all the iterations of them. I've enjoyed the progression, seeing how they've changed. I just love the idea of just being in the city and doing stuff and exploring. And yeah, I definitely got to play. Man, I ain't got enough money for all this stuff, man. Y'all got to stop. Man, so
got a second mortgage.
You're right. You know, or just get a second job.
There you go.
Get a secret second full-time job. That's a thing that people do, by the way.
Ooh.
Just mine Bitcoin.
Just mine Bitcoin on IBM servers.
They won't mind.
They won't mind. Not a fireable offense.
Somehow use Watson to do it. And
to do it for me, to smartly, discreetly.
Watch Watson be the secret, like, destroyer of Bitcoin. Like, it just sees through everything and it can immediately find the correct algorithms and stuff.
Like, oh, this is the one.
Super efficient.
Cool, man. Well, man, y'all got me hyped. I'm over here. I honestly, like, I had to stop myself. I started searching Final Fantasy Tactics, doing what I do every time. Where can I play this game? Like, all these forums where people...
I'm surprised you didn't mention Advance Wars, Brett.
So Advance Wars, I didn't think about it prior to making the list, but so I thought about it when Steve started talking about a game he stumbled on, and I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot Advance Wars. You know, but I think in many ways Advance Wars is like my number 6. Like it's there. But I have so many tactical games on my top 5. Yeah, but I love Advanced Wars. Same. Yeah, it might be my number 2. Sorry, Legend of Zelda.
Man.
Yeah, you know. Actually, I just realized I have Final Fantasy Tactics on my iPad as well. So I have it on like four different things. So I'm probably gonna go down there and reboot it up and start over. But anyway, so yeah, man, I always enjoy hearing y'all's top 5s. Gets me hyped. We'll definitely do more of these. I'm looking forward to more conversations about more top 5s and more top things. But yeah, man, exciting, good times. Thank you everybody for just checking out this episode of Super Agile Bros, sticking with us throughout our adventure. We look forward to many more conversations. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Steve, for your time.
Pleasure.
You're welcome.
Yes. And I just appreciate these times. So y'all take it easy out there in the interwebs world, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.